Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce, JP8 report. This is my episode number 20. I'm calling this one, I don't know. Okay. And that's not because of me, but I don't know is the title of this one. I was going to do a whole different episode today, but I wanted to do this one first. My next one is going to be how fast of a transition from democracy to dictatorship. So that should be coming out in the next day or so. Okay, so stay tuned for episode 21 unless something interdicts that one. Okay, but this is episode 20. I don't know. I did not take any notes for this one, so this one is off the cuff. Okay. And for some of y'all that know me, y'all know that was going to be the original title of this podcast anyway, was off the cuff. But I settled on JP8 report, one of my nicknames in the Army. You can reach me on the podcast at jp8report@gmail.com. And this is broadcast on Podbean and their affiliates, and Rumble, YouTube, and on Facebook also. Okay, and always remember, when you're watching this, it helps me, helps you, helps your friends. Subscribe to the podcast, whichever venue you're watching it on, and subscribe to it, like it, and share it. Okay, I'm even on Apple Podcast now. Wow, I'm happening. Thanks to some friends showing me what to do and stuff, I've been steadily expanding the horizons of where my podcasts publish out to. Okay, so the reason for this is I listened to the news conference the other day, and this one lady reporter was asking the president about immigration, about the illegal aliens coming across the Rio Grande down in the RGV, and he said, I don't know. I don't know has a lot. This man is the president of the United States. He's surrounded by countless advisors. He gave us 8 or 9 day notice on this press conference, knowing that this was going to come up. And his answer to the American public was, I don't know. I mean it. Oh, really? Come on. My background, United States Army. You can see it. That's one of my combat tours. I am a combat veteran, for the ones that don't know. I spent almost 25 years in the Army. My last combat assignment was in 2010, and I was a platoon sergeant. I don't know. That is the worst answer a leader can ever give his subordinates. Okay? And you can look at the president as president, as servant of the people, but he is the leader of our country. And not knowing what's going on our southern border with all of his advisors is he actually in tune with what's going on in our country, what's going on in Texas, in New Mexico, in Arizona, in California, what's happening on our border, what's going on with the people, what's he saying to entice people to come up. He gave an excuse the other day, the hurricanes and earthquakes happening down there, and a political strife. That's been happening for centuries. Okay, when the colonization started happening across the Western Hemisphere in the late 1400s, early 1500s, they were still having tropical storms and hurricanes, mudslides, earthquakes. They had empires that would ravage through their lands. Where the Northern Triangle countries are right now was ruled by the Incas and the Mayans, and they weren't really exactly friendly with those people either. But you didn't see them marching 1,200 miles to the vast prairie lands of North America. Then they would encounter the Comanches and nomadic Indian tribes that were in central United States. That might have something to do with it there too. But that being said, so when he was a candidate for office, he was telling people, "Come on up, come on up." Now he's like, "Stop." Well, the word people are getting in Central America is, "Come on up." What are you doing about doing? Kamala Harris is her job is to, if I remember right, to go to Central America and find out what is causing all these people to go northward and see if there's some type of change that needs to be made. Excuse me, we have a southern border that's being breached day in and day out by hundreds of thousands of people into our country, my state. I'm a Texan. This is beyond ridiculous. It's putting my family at risk. It's putting my neighbors at risk. It's putting my fellow citizens of the great state of Texas at risk. It's putting our nation at risk. For what? For someone to come across our border that's promised a better life in our country by this new administration that, oh, come here and we'll take care of you. These people don't even know English, okay? You're going to tell them they can come here and get a job. How are you going to get a job as an illegal alien in our state? How are you going to be successful? Where are you going to live? How are you going to pay for it? Oh my goodness. You know, my rent is, not my rent, I'm sorry, I'm buying my house, is like $1,300 a month. The average rent in Copper's Cove is between $800 and $1,200 a month. Where is a legal alien with no experience in the United States going to earn that kind of money to live in our medium-sized city? Now, what happens if you live in Dallas or Houston or Fort Worth or San Antonio or stay down in RGV? They're not going to stay in RGV, because if they stay in RGV and a CBE rolls up on them, they're going to be arrested. You know, these coyotes are making so much money. They'll charge, I forgot what the going rate was. I should have taken notes. See, I'm so infuriated by what's going on. This is unbelievable. These people extort money from these poor people and then get them across the Rio Grande. They get arrested. They get sent back. Oh, wait a minute. When you go across the border, you got to give money to these coyotes or smugglers. And you get sent back. And then you pay more money and then try to get back over. It's a never-ending cycle. And the only people making money are these gug-running, smuggling cartels that are making hand-over-fist dollars at the expense of these poor people. You know, yesterday, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was in Cameron, Texas, the little town east of Temple, okay? It's in, I believe, Milam County, okay? I stopped at a Sefco I had to fuel up my car. And I was on my way back to Copper's Cove. But I stopped to fill up my car and because I was running out of gas. And I was at the fuel pump fueling, and there's this pickup truck, a small Ranger, and it's 3/4 full with just debris. And this is one guy filling up his truck, doing the same thing I was, but he had a beautiful Australian Shepherd in the back, unrestrained, and he looked really, really friendly. But I'm thinking, wow, what happens if he hit a bump driving down the road and that dog was tossed out of the bed of that truck? Okay. But that's another story for another day. But I was like, hey, that's a beautiful Australian Shepherd there. And he just nodded at me, and I'm like, okay. Well, I said, well, I used to have one, and his name was Blue, and they are beautiful dogs. How old is he? and the guy proceeded to tell me he couldn't speak English. I mean, how is he driving in our state that can't communicate in our language? How does he have a driver's license? I mean, I know you can take a driver's license in Spanish, but how are you going to be functional in our state in Central Texas, not Southern Texas, but Central Texas, and not know English? What kind of job are you going to do in the United States where you can't speak English? How are you going to support your family? What, they're going to come across the border and they're going to aggregate into little communities that only speak Spanish, and the only thing they're going to do is menial jobs and be kept poor, and the government's going to say, well, we'll give you some money to subsist on for right now. And so, and then what these guys want to do is give them amnesty and make them citizens so they'll vote Democrat for the rest of their lives. I got a story for you, Dems. Okay, you think you're all smart and stuff, but don't count these Latinos out, because they're more conservative than you actually think they are. Okay, so you can woke yourself up and figure out what's really going on, and all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure, because Latinos, they're smart people. They're awesome people. Okay, and if you think you can manipulate them by bringing them across the Rio Grande or our static border to the west of us, and think you got them hooked for life, you got another thing coming. And your little old fake Latino Robert Francis O'Rourke thinks he's going to win his governorship in Texas. He got another thing coming. He let him spend $200 million or whatever he wants. Let him waste more money in our state, because you know what? These Latinos, I can't call them Mexicans because there's more than just Mexicans coming across. We'll take care of them, because Texans are like that. We're not crazy. We take care of our citizens. We take care of the people in our state. So y'all can play your little game if you want, but back to the story. This guy he couldn't speak any type of English. And the guy that was with him couldn't speak English either. So where are they working? Where are they staying? How are they paying rent? How are they making money? Now, I asked my wife last night, if I run across a subcontractor that gives me a W-9 and puts a Social Security number on it, can I ask him if I suspect he's a Latino? Can I ask him for his I-551 card? If you don't know what I-551 card is, that's your immigrant 551 from Homeland Security, saying you're legally in the United States. Okay? So that means you can legally get a Social Security number, get a driver's license, everything you need to do to stay here, as long as you're allowed to stay here. But if you're here illegally, what are you going to do? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to cram 10 people in a house. Half of them are adults. They're all going to live and work from the same residence, so they can actually able to pay bills. What freedom is that? Are we kidding ourselves? You got all these people in the United States that live in these 2,500 square foot homes with them and their wife, and think, well, we got it good. You ought to count your blessings, what you have. Because if you lived in Nicaragua or Honduras or Guatemala or El Salvador, Mexico, you could be living in 200 square foot flats with no running water in them. And those people think they got it well off. And you want to sit there and drink your little your coffee shop coffees and get out there and condemn the world for the way they're treating people, and your wealthy wallet, good for nothing, uh, woke attitude where, well, they ought to be in the United States. We have plenty of room. We can bring countless people over and living in squalor. And your little wealthy butt, Democratic butt out there is out there with hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars in the bank, and you won't shed any of it for anyone that needs it. And what happened to the people in the United States that need the same help? You're just going to flat out ignore them, but you want to give money and time to the people coming from Latin America, not even thinking about the people that need help here. So, who are we fooling? Oh, I don't know. I don't know is the worst response a leader could ever give to his soldiers. Now, if I wanted to tell that to my commander or my first sergeant when I was in the Army, sir, I don't know at this time, but I can get the answers for you. But you'll never hear a commander or a first sergeant or platoon sergeant tell his soldiers, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. You want to lose loyalty really fast? Say that to a soldier. You think he's ever going to trust you again? And the fact that they won't let the press into these facilities is beyond outrageous. What they're trying to do is clean it up to where they can bring it in and say, look, we didn't have a crisis here. It was a slight challenge. Look how these people all being treated. They're getting 3 hots and a cot. They got these video game consoles. Look, they're learning English. Oh, wow, look at this. And then down the road in a facility you're not allowed into, I reference Senator Langford and Senator Cruz. They put images out on Twitter. Ugh, I can't believe I said that word. But they put, I'm joking, but I still don't have a Twitter account. I may be opening one soon just for the podcast, that's all. But they would put videos. Henry Cuellar, he's a Democratic representative here in South Texas. He put a couple pictures. He smuggled pictures. He leaked them out, not smuggled. He leaked them out. But yesterday, when the senators were down in South Texas, they took video and they put it out on their Twitter accounts for the world to see. And then they got facilities like there was one facility, I think it was Langford. Senator Langford said it was a facility made for 80 people and had 709 people in it. And you can read that and say, oh yeah, he's lying. But the video he showed told a whole different story. These people were wrapped up in solar blankets, laying on mats on the floor, almost side by side, and they were crammed. There were so many of those solar blankets in there, they could put them all together and make a solar panel. That's how much was in there. There ain't no learning going on in there. I bet they barely had anything to eat. And it was probably substandard food, packed full of protein to keep them healthy. We keep fooling ourselves. We keep faking the funk, as we used to say in the Army. But truth be told, it's the United States of America, and Joe Biden's our president. But all y'all that voted for him, y'all need to take a look in the mirror and see what you voted for. Did you vote for him? Did you vote for Harris? Did you vote for the socialistic ideals that all they want to do is bankrupt our country by flooding our country full of people that can only earn minimum wage or sub-minimum wage jobs because they can't perform in our sectors, and now they're trapped here? Are you fooling yourselves? I don't know what to do. I've done my part. I'll defend my country with my life, my flag with my life. But, they sit out there and watch people live in squalor and then tell the national public, oh, we're not going to let the press in right now because we're not ready for the press. Really? What are you hiding? What diseases are coming through those border checkpoints? I already got one of my COVID vaccines. My wife said both of hers. These people are coming northward and they don't know what a vaccine is. And they're talking 10% of the kids have COVID or something like that. I think it was. But if they're reporting the kids that have COVID, how many of the adults that they haven't released yet have it? They're so quick to release results for kids having COVID, but what about the adults that have it? Are they reporting on Texas numbers, or are they being hid inside the federal government's numbers? And then, remember this. We're reporting on the number of the people that have been apprehended at the border. What about the people that have not been apprehended and slipped through into the interior of the United States infected? That is what you got to be aware of. So, what COVID has slipped through the borders into our country, we already lost 550,000 people. Do we want to cause another spike and lose another 75,000? For irresponsible behavior from a federal government that thinks they know what's going on? The unapprehended people to make it through the border with COVID. What about the unapprehended people that are being sold into the sex industry? Human trafficking, the tragedy of human trafficking. All those girls and women and probably young men to be sold by these coyotes and cartel members that do unspeakable acts. Are we kidding ourselves? What is up? And then the amount of cocaine and heroin and fentanyl. I believe Dallas County seized $80 million worth of fentanyl that came across the southern border. And those people act like it's no big deal, because we know how Dallas stands politically, their leadership at least. So let's start playing this game. And that Congress needs to do something about our immigration. The president needs to get his head out of the sand and quit acting like an ostrich and acknowledge that we have a problem. He's a leader. He made a mistake in saying, I don't know. You know what? He can go before the American people and say, I made a mistake with what I said. Don't use that circle back Jen junk. She can take a flying leap for all I care. She's probably pulling the puppet strings. But he needs to stand before the American public and says, I made a mistake of what I said the other day. And I'm going to swallow my pride and say, he don't even have to give President Trump any credit. Just fix the problem before it gets out of the hand, and then we have worse issues facing our country, because we can keep throwing money at this problem, or we can fix the problem. Okay? HHS spent $86 million the other day by putting illegal aliens in hotels. Just imagine what they could do with the $86 million for homeless people that living in Los Angeles or San Francisco or Houston or Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin. Austin's got a huge They got a Democratic mayor. I mean, they don't care. They just let them live on the streets. No, people need to be taken care of. $86 million to house illegal aliens in hotels. So if you need a hotel room in San Antonio and you're like, oh my goodness, it's a non-holiday weekend, I can't even get a hotel room. Who do you think's in those hotels? And we'll leave the light on for it. No, turn that light off because hotel's full. Okay? So it's your tax dollars. It's your security. It's your president. Make them perform. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report. I'm out of here.